What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to episode number 41 of the Tuesday Track Talk with your Three Stones Pit Crew. I am your tire changer, Cam.
I'm your Jackman Kellen.
And I'm your gas man, Cam.
We got another jam-packed episode here for you. Fresh off of a very interesting cup race. We're recording this a little bit early. We just finished up with the cup race here, but we're going to have a lot of other racing to talk about here. What's been going on, fellas, since we last reconvened with each other?
Actually took the weekend away from the racetrack and just spent a little time with family.
There you go.
So we talked about going to lacrosse, never did. We just went and Park had a little like food truck vendor deal, and then we just went and watched fireworks. So just kind of took it easy and hung out with family. Always got to make time for family. So
Yeah.
it was just a good time just to hang out with them and take it easy.
Yeah. What he did, I did. So makes it pretty easy. But no, it's fun, pretty relaxing weekend. Went, got some good pizza, some good ice cream. Then yeah, we unfortunately skipped the racetrack, but while we were sitting there listening to live music and waiting for fireworks, we still did catch racing. Drained all my hotspot for Kellen so that we could watch the race at the Dells. So yeah, good weekend, fun, relaxing, but yeah, a lot to talk about in the racing world.
Before we jump into that, I want to say I did watch the Brian Clausen Chasing 200 documentary on Flow Racing this morning.
Yep.
Really good watch.
Is it?
Really good watch.
Yeah, I gotta watch that.
I mean, obviously it talks about his journey. For those that don't know, it's him attempting to run 200 races in a year. It kind of goes into what he was all planning on running, video highlights from some of those, but also just backstory stuff as well too. So good stuff.
Yeah, I've always seen it. Every time I go on Flow, I'm always looking for something that we're going to talk about here. So I haven't really taken the time, but knowing that here this week with a little downtime during the day and with the messed up week for the 4th of July, it's a great opportunity to watch it.
Yeah, 2 hour watch basically is what it is.
It's a movie.
Yep. So
Sweet.
highly recommend.
Good, cool.
So, well, you want to jump into some racing here, fellas? I know, like you said, we got a lot of stuff to talk about here.
It's what we do best.
So we'll start on the dirt side of things. We'll touch on the World of Outlaws. We're going to specifically kind of narrow in on Norman County. Just a quick little recap because they raced basically all week this week. Bobby Pierce came in with 2 wins. I want to make sure I get this right here. Cedar Lake no, I'm looking at the wrong one here. River Cities was postponed to today as we're recording. So the only other one that we had then was the I-94. Well, I-94 got rained out, and then we had the one from Norman County.
Yep.
So yeah, let's start with that one. I gotta get back to the right sheet here. First time that they've raced here at this track as well, and it did not disappoint. But I think the leading theme of this was, wow, was there a leader's curse for this race?
Yeah, what it comes down to is you didn't want to lead, you wanted to run second. So if you were running in lead, you wanted to let someone get by so they could break.
Yeah. Yep, because you had Bronson cut a tire.
Yep.
And then shortly after, Pierce blew up.
Yep.
And then Gustin broke as well, which I never really heard what happened with Gustin.
But no, that was the course of 3 laps.
Yeah.
Then they kind of went, I don't know, they ran about 20 laps. Lap 28 was the caution for Gustin. And then lap 43, Nick Hoffman, he wheeled his way right past Bishop and Devin Moran.
Yep. One thing I noticed was like watching the Dirt Vision race or broadcast was legit fairgrounds look to it. It's got the overhead on the grandstands. There are cameras from inside of it too, so you're looking through the fence. Legit fairgrounds, but that was some good racing too.
I was gonna say one thing I did enjoy watching the highlights of it is when those guys broke, like 1 and 2. like when Bobby Pierce drove it off of the middle of 1 and 2, must have been a pretty steep drop off because it was like he
Yep.
went to oblivion when he drove it off there, right down, and
Just
you didn't see his car after that.
just
Um,
disappeared.
yeah, Bronson, same thing, and so yeah, unique little track, first time there, and for the first time being there, it put on some dang good racing. But yeah, looked like a cool little track.
Sporty little joint that had a lot of lines.
Yep.
Two distinct lines in the real bottom and then the real top. But again, Cam, it's another one of those places they ain't got no walls on the outside.
You
So
just love those places, don't you?
it keeps you on your toes.
Yeah. You can't have a mistake, that's for sure.
I'll tell you, I'll never forget it. We went down to Davenport last year for Lucas Oil. There was 3 cars on the track for qualifying, and all 3 of them sailed off into one and missed it, and went over the bank.
Jesus.
Didn't roll, but they just missed
Yeah.
it over the bank. That was it. The whole group, they just got to stack them up and try it again. But
Yep. Wow. Huh. But Hoffman ended up Devin Moran pretty much adopted the lead from that point. And then Hoffman took the lead on lap 43, just kind of minded his own. He kind of dropped back a little bit at the beginning of the race and then kind of through the attrition and just kind of working his way up, got his way back up to the front and was able to pass Moran there for the lead.
yeah.
Yeah, and he made some dicey moves there towards the end through lap traffic too. Going 3 wide, splitting some lap traffic. So no, like you said, feels like that race he didn't want to lead any lap but the last one. But yeah, no, Nick Hoffman gets a win. And yeah, I think the general consensus or theme from him over the last few weeks is he's going to be a contender for the title. Obviously, he's the rookie of the year last year, and yeah, it did not take long, and I think he's got himself, obviously the points leader, but a legitimate contender.
Yeah.
To win.
So
The other handful of guys are going to be tough to beat, but he's got himself in the conversation,
Yep.
racing right with those guys every night.
Yeah.
looking at the point standings right now, this was as of the 29th. So we have Sunday's race to put into here yet. Bishop was in the lead. Nick Hoffman is 14 points back. And then you had a pretty large gap to Gade Dillard, who is 122 back. And then Bobby Pierce at 152 back.
Sorry, I stand corrected on Nick Hoffman being the points leader, but
He's been going back and forth.
yeah,
They've been swapping that spot.
Pretty much a nightly change.
The big difference is that Bishop's got 14 top fives versus Hoffman's 10.
yeah. And I think Bobby Pierce, he'll just obviously we're not quite can't forget that he's still recovering from that points penalty from the tire that he had earlier in the year. So
Yep.
Yeah.
I think he'll continue to just chip away at it, and I think he'll close that gap here over the course of the summer and be there at the end.
I wonder if I can figure this out real quick. I want to see how many races they have left on their schedule, kind of like where they're at.
Three of them at Summer Nash, or
We're
US
past halfway actually. So including Sunday's race, we have 26 races left on the schedule.
Okay.
So we're just past halfway on the season, basically.
All right. Damn.
Ooh, got one going off. Sorry, I'm watching the late model race going on right now too. So, no, again, just good racing. Had a lot of guys break. Even Bobby Pierce was saying that he said something about his luck too.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can find it here quick.
Ultimately, what it comes down to for the race, well, as you're kind of looking there, Nick Hoffman, Devin Moran, Brandon Shepard, Brian Shirley, Cade Dillard, Max McLaughlin, Brent Larson, Kyle Bronson, Tyler Bruning, Tristan Chamberlain round out your top 10.
So, referring to the engine blowing, Pierce says, this is the kind of stuff that makes a guy want to find a new hobby. Just not our year.
Yep.
And
We
he's
got a
still
guy-
got 5 wins on the year.
Yeah, we got a cup guy that has 0 wins, and he wants to say the same thing.
Yeah. Yep. Which we'll touch on that here a little bit.
Yeah, but no, good race, sporty little joint.
Yep.
Produced. So cool.
Cool. Let's head over to the World Outlaw Sprint Cars at Cedar Lake. Friday night got rained out. I was hoping to get up to that one, but I was not able to go because of the rain. So we only had Saturday night's race, which just made it even better, made it more special. Before we jump into it, we got a new track record from Carson Macedo too.
Yeah.
I want to see. I forget what the time was, but new track record. Always good to hear Gibson yelling that out from the broadcast booth. Otherwise, as we get to the feature here, we had one go over the turn 2 wall. Scott Winters went over the turn 2 wall, and boy, did he catch some air.
Yeah. He kind of rolled right where that ramp is. Kind
Yeah.
of right before that ramp that comes onto the backstretch there where they kind of shoot him off of 2. He kind of right at the catch fence right before that kind of opening. But yeah, he just caught the cushion and hooked him right, and
Yep.
kind of an ass over tea kettle situation, and he was just in the fence.
Tell you what was weird too watching that one. It was weird watching it from the front stretch, not the back stretch.
Yeah. I always, whenever we're watching the highlights, I always got to go, wait, hold on, I got to go backwards.
So, otherwise, Logan Schuchart started up front, excuse me, and then just was able to stay and lead the entire time. He got a little bit of competition from Honshield, but he was just able to keep pulling away. Got some timely cautions that kind of gave him that clean air once again. Track was racy though. I mean, that was another one. You had guys all over the place.
Produced. You had the top, you had the bottom, you had some guys that were just glued to the middle. It was just all over the place.
Yeah. Excuse me. Did you guys see David Gravel's wheel stand?
Oh, dude, that wheelie was nuts. It was from turn 4 to basically had
Turn
to slow
1, yeah.
down to get into turn 1.
Yep.
Yeah, that was you see a couple little ones, but like he was almost dragging the tail tank on
I
that
was
one.
about to say it was
Yeah.
probably dragging the tail tank.
Like that was crazy. But at least he got her set down to make the corner.
Yeah. Yep. But no, like I said, Logan Schuchart got out front. Led every lap, which is his first win on 2024 for him
Yeah.
on the Outlaw side of things. So again, always good to see a guy get a win. Sean Honshield, like I said, he was kind of his biggest competition during that race. He kind of caught him at one point in time, kind of stuck his nose out in front, but just missed it coming out. And yeah, like I said, Logan Schuchart just kind of took off from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty racy. Like you said, they did a really good job on the track. When Schuchart was leading, I mean, Gravel and Macedo were going at it, and they were trying all different sorts of lines. They were running the bottom in 1 and 2, kind of a slider. The top in 3 and 4. So really racy track. Seemed like it put on good racing, and yeah, I watch that and it's like that is enjoyable as USA Nationals were last year, late models. That's like yeah, I might have to put that one on the list to make a gander up to Cedar Lake, because yeah, it's just fun little track, and best in the business there. So
At least from the couple of shots that I saw, it looked like it was a pretty packed place as well.
Yeah. At least what you could see on the backstretch looked full.
Yep. Yep. I was kind of worried about that Friday night because I wasn't going to be able to leave work till later and get there kind of right at race start. So I was kind of worried about seats, but again, ultimately didn't have to worry about it. So, no. So, Logan Schuchart gets the win, like I said, leaving every lap. Sheldon Haudenschild, David Gravel, Donnie Schatz. Comes from 10th to 4th. Carson Macedo, Buddy Colford, Gio Selzy, Bill Baylog, kind of the home track for him.
Yep. Yeah.
Chris Throm and Landon Brooks round out your top 10 there.
Yeah. Solid. The track looked awesome. Looked just super racy. And let's be honest, we would expect nothing less of that facility.
Yes.
Just produces. End of story.
100%. So excited for USA Nationals later this year. Get back up there.
Yeah. Just makes you more excited to be there sooner.
Yep. So let's stick on the dirt. Let's stick with the wing sprints. Let's move over to the high limit series though. They had 2 races. They had the midweek race, and then they had the race at Lucas Oil. Just touching on midweek real quick. Corey Day was your winner for that one
Yeah.
at Lake Ozark.
Yeah. An 18-year-old kid's not supposed to drive from 15th to the win.
No, no, it had an insane pass on that backstretch there to get the lead.
Dude, that place was that was bonkers.
So he's going to be a threat. And he looked like he was going to be another threat here at Lucas Oil, and he jumped out to the early lead, but he ended up breaking from the lead and just never. They went straight to the hauler basically.
Yeah, he is I think Kellen said it, driving way beyond his years at 18 years old. Some of the moves he's making and the races he's winning. Guy seems wise and mature beyond his years, which is scary for the rest of the sprint car world because somebody as young as that gets hot. You can look at it's the future of the sport.
Yeah. That is the absolute future of sprint car racing right there.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how he does here the rest of the year. Otherwise, Cy Lynch kind of had a coming out day. He led a lot of laps, was kind of holding his own. Obviously the big guys were coming to run him down and they were looking to get by him. Caution came out 14 to go when Marks went upside down, and that kind of reset everything for everybody.
Yeah, it just regrouped the field, and Lynch had a big enough lead that he really was only dealing with 1 or 2 cars, but it regrouped him enough that it gave somebody like Brad Sweet and Tyler Courtney, it gave those 2 guys a chance to really get within arm's length to try to grab a hold of that thing. So that really was I don't want to say the race killer for Cy Lynch, but it kind of was.
Yeah. And obviously, when you get Brad Sweet up there fighting for a lead, there's not often that he gets beat fighting for a lead.
Yeah. And then you throw him, and then you throw Sunshine in there, those are your top 2 point leaders of the year who have had absolute stellar years. If somebody's going to beat Brad Sweet, it's going to most likely be Tyler Courtney. So, yeah, you just can't give those guys a chance, and really that's what it came down to.
Yeah, for sure. Brenham Crouch gets spun around with 7 to go against, kind of sets a restart between Sunshine and Brad Sweet. Sunshine ultimately gets around, was running the middle. Whole race still kind of running around there and ends up again fighting with Sweet there. Ultimately gets around him there too.
Yeah. I do have to say, I think the coolest part of that whole night was the Durst dice roll winner.
Yes.
$9,000. That's
yep.
So for those of you that don't know what the Durst dice roll is for, high limit it's 1 fan. If you purchase your ticket in advance, they put everyone's name in a bucket. They draw 1 fan. You roll a set of dice, and whatever the number comes out to, that is your driver for the night. So Sunshine started 9th. So what happens is it's 9, so they split. It's $9,000 split between the fan and the driver. So that fan walked away with a $4,500 check.
Yep.
For a race that probably cost them $45 to get into.
Yep.
So
better than 50-50 sometimes.
90% of races you go to, it's going to be better than 50-50.
Yep.
But yeah, that was pretty cool. They said that is obviously it's a new thing this year, but that's the highest dice roll winner they've had in the history of
The short
100
history
roll.
of it, yeah.
Yeah. That'd be a tough one to beat.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty close. Although we did just say that we had Corey Day coming from 15th, so
Yeah, this is true.
the possibility is definitely there.
It was funny. They asked the fan, "Who's your favorite driver?" And he rolls the dice and he goes, "Sunshine." Yep, makes sense.
Yep.
I'd be rooting for him too. But no, I mean, Lucas Oil is one of those places that it produces.
Yep.
It's the same thing as Cedar Lake. They just know how to work the track and they know when it needs to have something to be there long term in terms of the races. So sprint car races are a little bit shorter, but still they had it set up that was racy the whole way through.
Yep.
I
I
was gonna
think
say the one other thing, as the more I watch races on at Lucas Oil, it just feels like one of those tracks that it really doesn't matter what type of vehicle that you want to race on the track. The track is just it's gonna put on good racing. And anytime the late models go there, it's fantastic racing. Sprint cars, they put on a dang good show. And then thinking back even to last summer when they put that SRX race on there,
Yeah.
that was an absolute doozy of a race too. So the more I watch racing at Lucas Oil, it's almost one of those. It's not, you don't look for an event. It's almost like, hey, is there any racing at Lucas Oil? Because you want to just find some good racing. It doesn't really matter what it is, modifieds, whatever. Just feels like Lucas Oil is just a great track for great racing.
yeah, for sure. Got a little bit of a break with High Limit. They're not in action until the 13th of July. They're also a tad over halfway as well. So let's look at their point standings kind of as they sit as well. You got Brad Sweet in the lead, 83 back is Tyler Courtney. Then you got a bit of a gap between Courtney and Brett Marks. Marks is 237 back from Sweet. Corey Day is 288. Rico is 301. Looking at the midweek series standings, Courtney's in the lead. Brad Sweet's back by 16. Corey Day's back by 43. Spencer Baston back by 47. And Justin Peck back by 64. And James McFadden by 64 as well.
Yeah, midweek's a little bit tighter.
Not as many races, obviously.
Yep, but the points are a little tighter.
Yep. So I think obviously clearly our two championship contenders for really both of them, I guess you could say, are Brad Sweet and Tyler Courtney.
They've, for the time being, have separated themselves.
Yep.
Yep.
So obviously got a ways to go yet in their season. We really look forward to seeing what they can do. Otherwise, with the race, like we said, Tyler Courtney, Sunshine ends up winning it. Brad Seat was second, James McFadden third, Thornton fourth, Lynch fifth, Peck sixth, Schoenberg seventh, Wyndham eighth, Allen ninth, and Wise rounds up your top 10. And then Saturday ended up getting rained out.
Yeah. I actually got qualifying in and then it rained out, which
Yep.
is the worst part.
I mean,
we know that feeling all
a little bit.
But
So
yeah.
No, any other final thoughts here, fellows, before we kind of switch surfaces?
Nope. We like to do that, so might as well head to the asphalt.
Let's do that then. Let's talk about the Live for 5 race at the Dells. I know this one always kind of comes up when these guys race. I was boots on the ground for this one. Really long green flag run to start this out.
That was good to see. And honestly, we were watching it and like Summers grabbed the lead and he was gone.
Yep.
He was in another zip code by himself. But honestly, to watch the leaders get to lap traffic and have them stacked up 2 by 2 for 3, 4, 5 rows deep, that was crazy.
Yeah.
You see, and I guess this is for me in the last year and a half of spending a lot of time at the Dells. leaders will get to a lot of traffic, but at that point, the guys at the back kind of are strung out, and you're going to pick them off one at a time. That was the furthest thing from the case on Saturday night.
Yes.
That it was just crazy. That was hey, question. I didn't realize this until they actually started the feature. Did they start everybody?
Yes. Yep. They started everybody.
That also would be why there'd be what, 28 cars?
They had 28. Yep.
Yeah, that's a lot of cars in that track.
And everybody for the most part stayed on the track. There weren't many mechanical failures. Um,
I mean,
there was a point where when Sommers took off, there was a point where he caught the lap field. I mean, there was probably a gaggle of 10 cars between lappers and guys that were still kind of fighting through the lap traffic that just packed it all up, which is why it's always, it's better to be at the track. You can see that stuff happening from back behind the field too.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think about it, there's only two cars that didn't finish. It'd be Nason and Edmonds.
Yeah.
Because Fredrickson got turned around, but he finished.
Yep.
And Swanson, who was involved with Fredrickson, also
Finished.
finished. So I think those would be the only two guys that didn't finish.
Yeah, I think Edmonds broke.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think them were the only two.
If that guy didn't have any luck, or if he had any luck, it'd be bad luck.
And he started the year off so good at Madison.
Yeah, he ran so well at Madison, and now he gets junked in something that wasn't his fault at Jefferson, and now he gets that car back together for the first time, and he's broke again.
Yeah.
But no, I mean,
Oh, excuse me.
there's only one caution, right?
Nope, there was two because you had the spin and then you had
Edmonds.
Yep.
Yeah, everyone for the most part pretty much minded their P's and Q's.
Yeah, and like you were saying, like I was kind of monkeying around with some stuff, so you might have brought up already. But Sommers and Kaler, when they were battling for the lead,
yeah, that last start with 14 to go.
They raced side by side for a long time too.
Yeah, and we were watching, and Summers can get a good run off of 4, but I don't know if he was struggling in 1 and 2 a little bit, and that he would almost get him clear coming off of 4, and then they would go into 1 and 2, and coming off of 2, Kaler would be even or even a little bit ahead of him, and then it was just that same song and dance for however many laps it was there when
it
was Summers gets a run off of 4, Kaler gets a better run off of 2, and yeah, but no, kudos to those two guys for racing as hard as they did and as clean as they did for as long as they did. Because that was, I mean, that's why some of the racing up here we might be a little bit biased, but why we might think that some of the racing up here is the best in the business because of racing like that when guys can do that for side by side for 10 or so laps and just good, clean, hard racing is what us race fans live for.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd have been easy because Kaler had Johnson right on his bumper, so it'd have been easy for Kaler to just kind of drift up and run Summers out of the groove, and then it'd have been between him and Johnson.
Yep.
But he didn't do that.
Yep. And even when the caution came out and they were trying to figure out like where they would choose, I think it was his dad, Kaler's dad, came on the radio and says, "All right, you got to get elbows up here, bud. You don't have to drive dirty, but you got to get elbows up."
Yeah. And he did.
Yeah.
That's at that point, that's all you can ask for.
Yep. One thing to point out too was they put some sticky stuff in the second groove right above the concrete.
Did they?
Yep. So it worked really good earlier in the day when it was super hot out because that concrete was slick. But when it cooled off at night for feature time, that concrete kind of came back in.
Ah.
Yep. They put some sticky
That's
stuff
why I
down.
looked at Kim like, man, Summers is doing an absolute hell of a job hanging on out there. Like, usually you get a 5 or 6 or 7 lap run, you get to 3/4 of a car, you're getting real close to clearing.
Yep.
It just didn't feel like that. So that makes sense.
Yep. I missed it at the beginning part of practice just because of freaking traffic, which that's a whole nother story. Yeah, they had cones down actually that prevented guys from even running the bottom very early on in practice so they could run that sticky stuff in.
Oh, okay.
So that's the second race I've heard of now up here that has done that. They've used some sticky stuff.
Yeah,
'Cause
Madison did.
well, I guess three, because then Madison did it, and then Sands did it for Memorial Day.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
Might be something with that new ST1 and ST2 tire,
yep,
which if it's gonna make the racing product better, I'm all for it.
absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah, Nathan got a flat, just kind of pulled it in. I heard the guys over there say it's not even worth coming back out. No, there wasn't any really good radio chatter. Otherwise, maybe from Stormy after he finished the race, he had a really good run, which is good for him. He needed a good run.
Yeah. Pulling in on an open trailer after his toter gets struck by lightning.
Yeah. Yeah. Fried the computer, fried the generator, fried the motor for the lift.
Yeah.
Went old school with it.
Yep. Snowmobile trailer full of parts and an open trailer.
Yep. Hey, maybe that's what he needs. That's his good luck charm.
Yeah, no kidding. No, good for him. I really enjoy watching him. I really enjoy him. So I always love his Facebook stuff. His Facebook stuff is great.
Yep. I'd be interested to see what he does this week with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be good. It always is.
I forget I forget the conversation that he had, but I heard when I was listening kind of when he was just pulling off it, he was just so pumped.
Yeah. Yeah. Good for him.
Yep. So, Somers ends up getting the win, pretty much dominates the race, holds off Kaler there for who finishes second. Casey Johnson was third. Like we said, Jeff Storm was fourth. Fenhouse with a new livery on his car, he was fifth. Jordan Devoy was sixth. Sears seventh. James Lynch was eighth. Frederickson ninth, and Farrell rounds out your top 10.
Yeah. No, good race. Good long green flag run. Let guys have to deal with a lot of lap traffic.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. So, any thoughts here before we kind of move into headlines that happened over the week?
No, it was good.
Oh, I think you guys hit on the head. Yeah, good racing. I was just gonna say, Kel, when you mentioned lap traffic there at the end, it's a leader's nightmare to look out through a windshield and see what you were seeing at Dells. Too wide stacked up. That's a leader's nightmare. So,
Yeah.
but no, yeah, it was awesome race. Fun to watch, and again, just a lot of good, hard, clean racing.
Yeah. No torn up equipment. That's all I can
Yep.
ask for.
Which is big with some of these races that we got coming up here in the next handful of weeks.
Yep. But yeah, well, 5 or 15 minutes fun facts, I'd imagine, huh?
Yeah. Yep. So let's jump into our fun facts here. We do have to start on kind of some somber notes. Obviously the big deal that came out of the dirt scene this week was the accident over in Jacksonville Speedway in Illinois. 410 sprint car lost control, ended up striking a couple fans in the infield at the track. And ended up losing a gentleman at that track that was very well loved by the racing community in that area.
Yeah. The track did post on Facebook they're going to take the month off. Their first scheduled race back will be like August 9th, I believe, that weekend of August 9th. So they're going to shut her down for the next month and just recoup, heal, regenerate, take time for the people that mean a lot in your lives and spend time with them so that you can do what you need to do to take care of yourself. So you can honestly, that's a decision you can respect. It could be very easy for
Yep.
a business owner to say, you know what, come on back on Saturday night or Friday night or whatever night they run, but that's just not a scenario that I don't think anybody wants to monkey with. So
No.
tip of the cap to them for how they handled this moment, and you don't really know how you're going to react in that moment until you have to be there, unfortunately. So
No, yeah, I did see the post. It did say I think they were only scheduled 2 events They only had 2 events
Yeah.
scheduled in July, so they said makes it pretty easy when you only have 2 events scheduled. But yeah, I did see the obituary. I think it was a 65-year-old guy working the infield. So obviously makes you really appreciate and think twice about what you're grateful for in your life, especially when you're at the racetrack. And then I think it is going to cause a whole new perspective because, to be honest, I mean, we sit there and we take it for granted, but we watch these races every night of the week on Flow, and it's like they've got guys in the infield of these racetracks, and there's no walls on them, and it's like, to be honest, it's hard to believe that this is the first time, since I've been involved with racing that this has happened. Because I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, some of these, it doesn't matter if it's a late model, a midget, whatever. I mean, some of these dirt tracks, there's just no walls on the inside. So it's like, then you got fans and photographers and officials that are right inside the inside tractor tire. And it's like, yeah. So obviously, yeah, something you don't ever want to experience at a racetrack, and nothing a race fan ever wants to hear. But yeah, super sad deal.
Yeah. Another one that kind of jumped out this week was John Force. Got in a big wreck last week. He continues his recovery in the hospital. We have been getting constantly good updates from John Force. Continues to make a recovery, so we should expect to see him back. Talk about a guy that's been around a long time and has been obviously one of the greats in drag. It's probably the greatest in drag racing. Still able to do it at 75, but he's been hitting that retirement, and obviously we want to see him come back and maybe run a few more, but it cheated death how many times too.
Yep.
And,
Last week was another one.
Yeah, and I think
how many of the 9 lives does the cat have left?
Oof, yeah.
And I mean, I didn't realize, I guess when you hit the wall at 326 miles an hour with no safer barrier, it's dumb of me to expect anything else, but some of these updates you're reading is, again, really makes you be grateful for what you have, because I mean, he's been basically unresponsive to his name, couldn't squeeze anybody's hand, and whatever, but it sounds like that he's now on the mend. He knows the people's name that's around him. When the doctor asks him to squeeze his hand, he's doing that. I actually saw in the latest update that they said the doctor or nurse that are taking care of him said it's like trying to harness a bull. He's constantly trying to get out of bed. So they got him, like, I think they actually have him like strapped down in bed. So obviously, yeah, at 75 years old, one of the best to ever do it.
Yeah.
Scary situation, but sounds like we're at least headed in the right direction.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I was gonna say they're probably gonna think they need to move him to a psych ward once he finally fully recovers and see who he truly is.
Doing what he does for a profession, probably.
Yeah.
Probably doesn't take much to go, yeah, we might have to have you checked out.
Yep.
I was gonna say one that's not on there too, that the last somber story that we had, that's again another unfortunate situation that we had, was watching live at High Limit last week at their midweek show. The crew guy, Brent Marks, getting rolled up on. But he seems to be in a lot better spirits. I don't think it was a broken leg. It was like a fractured tibia or something. He's already back at the racetrack.
I think it was a compound fracture is what the official.
Yeah. But obviously he gets rolled up on what I thought was a broken leg watching live. Little compound fracture, cast and crutches, and he's posting good stuff on Facebook and back at the racetrack. So that was good to hear.
Yeah. Going down the list, the next one. Kind of some interesting news out of the truck series this weekend. The 46 truck unloads and it is not Thad Moffitt, it is Dawson Cram in the truck due to quote unquote circumstances out of his control.
I
So,
noticed that that truck was blank too, sponsorship wise.
yeah, but he says he expects to be back in his Talladega their next race.
Hold, please.
Because I believe he said
Whatever their next race is.
he said to be back. So the brake clean.
Pocono is their next race.
Pocono. Okay, well,
They race on July 12th.
yeah. Well, he's said he'll be back. So that's what his post on Twitter says. So stay tuned for kind of updates on that situation as it transpires. And we may never know, but we just know that Dawson Cram drove that truck and
Yep.
he stepped away for at least this event at the time being. So stay tuned for that as kind of that develops.
Cam, you want to take this? Yeah, you want to take this next one?
Yeah, obviously we've talked about it a lot recently, in the silly season, but Haas hasn't talked to any Cup drivers about the one seat they're going to own. And I guess the most interesting story coming out of that here, in the last week was, actually Josh Berry said, he has not had any contact about being the driver for that Haas factory team, so he assumes he is not a candidate for it. So, well, unfortunate for him, but I thought he would have been one of the leading candidates, but sometimes it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. And sometimes it's not about your performance on the track, it's about who you know off the track. So we'll leave it there. But yeah, verdict's still to be out. Haven't had a ton of what we love to do on here, spread fires and rumors. Haven't had a ton of news or rumors circulating on who's going to be taking that Haas seat. Mentioned Cole Custer because of his dad, but outside of that, haven't had a ton of rumors around that. So it'll be an interesting team to kind of follow along and see where they go with that seat.
Riley Herbst had his media meeting this week and kind of mentioned that there were discussions going on, but nothing was set yet for next year. A guy that's been quiet about anything that's been going on has been Cole Custer. You haven't heard a thing from him.
Yep. Yeah, and nobody, honestly, at the end of the day, no one's really poked and prodded at him, which is kind of surprising.
Yep.
And did Riley Herbst say that he has opportunities at all three levels? Is that, I believe, what his quote said?
I believe so.
I'm almost 90% certain that's what he said. So he obviously is in conversation with not only his own program, but potentially other people as he's been driving in the Cup Series for Rick Ware here and there.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, Cam, kind of going back to your Josh Berry thing, sometimes you're the bat, sometimes you're the ball.
He was the ball today too.
Well, yeah, that too.
Today he was a rock.
We talk about guys that are kind of still in speculation. We finally got the confirmation for one of the guys this week. Chase Briscoe is the driver of the 19.
Yeah. We knew it was coming.
Interesting part though is Bass Pro Shops is still in the car.
Yep, and Chase Briscoe also mentioned that JGR was the only team that he had talked to that did not mention anything about bringing sponsorship money with them. So that probably makes the job a little less stressful.
Yeah.
You don't have to go out constantly trying to get sponsorship money to go with you. So at the end of the day,
that's a whole nother discussion in its own right.
That's kind of a no-brainer.
Before we carry on, I just, Briscoe mentioned pressure's on him and he'd have it no other way. Because obviously who you're replacing, I mean, it's not fair to compare him to Martin Truex Jr., but you are stepping into a ride that competes for wins week in and week out. So the pressure and expectation is going to be to step in and do the same in that ride. So, which I thought was interesting when I heard last week, 126 starts, 12 top fives and 1 win. So sent those stats to Kellen and he said, who question mark. So
Yeah, we'll see.
God dang it, I had another point that I was gonna make. Oh, Gibbs played along with Bell, spoiling the surprise too, and Bell announced Chase as the new driver as well.
yeah,
Yeah,
it was pretty cool.
yeah, it was classic.
So, Kellen, I'll let you take this one because this one kind of perked both of our ears when we saw this one get dropped.
Yeah, so kind of out of some highly renowned racing insight in the NASCAR world, it has now come to surface very quickly, like I would say like in the last 48 hours,
Yeah.
the last 2 days, 2.5 days. Connor Zilich is in talks for a potential Xfinity ride, even because he is a trackhouse driver. They are even in potential conversations running part-time with Junior Motorsports.
I how many drivers does Trackhouse loan?
They're just
That's the
subcontracting everyone.
they've
That's
got.
crazy.
You want to talk about a bullpen, but also want to talk about an opportunity for Zilich as well.
Yeah. So I guess when we start to think about Carson Quapple, another guy that is had a really good Xfinity handful of
Had a couple
starts,
starts. Yep.
you almost got to start to wonder if one of those cars, i.e., the 88, potentially stays as a part-time car, and those two kids really maybe split that car.
Not a half bad idea. I know we were kind of batting around of who on the team itself might be, gone.
Who might be in trouble? Yeah,
Yep.
I don't know. That Junior's gonna have a few tough decisions on his hand, but he's
He
smart
figures it
enough.
out.
He's smart enough that he'll have a way to figure that out.
Yep. For sure.
But
My favorite memory from Zilich was when he started on the front row with that Spire truck at Coda. Corner one, just center off there.
Everybody just said, "See ya."
Yeah, for real.
Yep.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah, interesting deal for him.
You want to talk about getting in top tier Xfinity equipment? That's the guy to talk to.
Yep. Exactly.
So
Last little topic here, and we had this discussion a while when we heard that Houston was going to be rescheduled. When were they going to reschedule it to? And it wasn't going to work where the high limit guys could come in. They have rescheduled it. They have rescheduled it where the high limit guys are not coming in, but high limit is also racing for $100,000 of their own the same weekend.
yeah, so we see how they're gonna play the old posse. We're gonna see how they're gonna play. It ain't gonna be it. They're gonna do what they want to do, obviously, but that big payday is what it's gonna come down to. Is they're ensuring that one of their guys is gonna win the big money, rightly or wrongly.
Yeah.
That's the aura or the feel that I'm getting from the situation.
It's just a shame that they couldn't figure something else out where they could get both series to come in because you lose the car count then too.
Yep. Absolutely.
It's gonna be a sad deal because you're gonna be racing for 250 grand and you're gonna have 30 cars.
35 cars, probably.
Yeah.
Would say
Where we had what 50s,
55. I think it was 55.
and how many of them didn't show up because they knew what the weather was going to be like.
Well, correct.
Correct. And we were talking last year. One of the I don't know if it was the Lernerville, the race that Junior was at, the high limit race. I think there was one of the high limit races last year at over 60.
Yeah.
Checked in for one of their midweek shows. So yeah, who knows? Unfortunate. We won't be able to get the best of the best in one facility, but if you're the World Outlaws, I guess there's one way to guarantee that the check stays in the series, and that's to schedule it when the posse can come. So,
Yep.
So, Obviously, this lasts more than 5 minutes always. We really ought to change this to like 15 minutes.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, yeah. The 5 minutes of fun facts just rolls off the tongue really nice, but it's kind of a crock of shit. Let's be honest.
Yep, absolutely. So that was everything that we had on our list. Um,
Yeah.
Obviously, the world of racing never ends when it comes to news, so always got to keep an eye out. So, uh, let's talk about some NASCAR, shall we, boys?
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's start with the first, I don't know what you would call it, 7/8 of the race,
Yeah.
something like that. Straight stage one strategy was all over the place. The guys were kind of playing the fuel strategy game, coming in at different times. You saw a lot of three cars dropped off here, then four dropped off here, and then another two here. And it wasn't, they brought up the broadcast. You didn't see everybody come in, in a span of 3 laps.
And McDowell and Logano ran real long.
Yep.
Stenhouse did the same.
Yep.
So,
Trying to play that strategy game, especially when fuel could run to 75, 80 laps and the stage was 90.
yeah.
Seeing if you could play that card a little bit. So, um, Bell ended up winning stage one. He had a dominant car, and obviously when stage two came around, just like last week, it was everybody knew the rain was coming. You're just trying to you're trying to race to halfway, or no, that's basically what it is. You're trying to race to halfway,
Yep. They were racing lap 150.
and they got 11 laps short,
Yep.
12 really, I guess.
Which,
But
let's be honest, that rain delay, super short.
yeah,
Hour and 21 minutes to have the track drag and drivers back buckled in and cars
yep,
rolling. That was pretty quick. So it was a pretty short little band that they had go through there.
And that's why I do think, yeah, it was elbows up, they're racing the weather. But also, I mean, as they're showing the radar on the broadcast, you're looking at it going, we're gonna get this race in tonight
yeah,
anyways. It's not like it was a huge sell. Um, but yeah, it was definitely interesting. Guys were, racing hard, and then um yeah, I think just the interesting point with, the whole weather delay. Because I mean that's almost like a halftime that NASCAR guys typically don't. In football you get a halftime, you get to go in and talk to your team and what are we going to do differently? What adjustments are we going to make? And NASCAR doesn't have that. And obviously you have communication, but uh yeah, rain delay gave a lot of those guys a chance to sit down with their crew chief and strategize and talk about what they're going to do, how to make the car better. So, yeah, been interesting.
It gave the race a little peak in the middle, a little time for guys to dissect, and then we got to
yep,
buckle in and go back at it again.
yep. Bell ends up winning stage two as well, sweeps the stage in this race, and then this is when the stuff kind of started to happen. You had Hamlin versus Larson, another edition of that, a little bit. You had Hamlin and Logano get a little bit into it as well.
Hamlin got the old number one bird from JL22.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
The whole Larson and Hamlin dynamic is just going to be interesting to follow because, like they said in the broadcast, they're good friends off the track,
Yep.
and they're good friends on off the track. But it is like,
It's like blood in the water on the track.
dude, for real, it is week after week after week that it's these two are just,
And the best part is it's always in the top five.
dude, for real. So
I,
yeah, I don't know. Something's
I
gonna give
just,
here.
I would
It
have a
was-
hard time shutting that off when you get out of the car.
Yeah,
Hey, you
Oh
want
what?
to
yeah.
get a beer tonight? Yeah. So then you sit down at the table. So what went through your brain on Sunday afternoon?
Yep.
I would be too brash to not say something. I'd get myself in trouble.
Well, I mean, that was a few weeks ago when Larson
Oh.
was at Iowa when uh Larson was trying to pit or he was getting ready to pit and Denny sent him up the wall and he lost all
Yep.
momentum and Larson's on the radio going, "What the fuck, Denny?" Um So, yeah, I don't know. Supposedly they're good friends off the track, but again, as with anybody and all of us, if you're playing a competition against one of your friends, the objective of the competition is to win. So you're not friends, but that is clearly the case with those two. So, like you said, Kelly, I feel like every damn week that it happens, it's in the top five. Those two are going at it. So,
Yeah.
it'll be
Hey,
it's
I'm
gonna be
gonna
fun
ask
to
you.
follow along.
I'm gonna ask you a question. Are we seeing a little Gordon Earnhardt-ish style rivalry here, or no? I don't think it's to that caliber yet, but something of that nature.
I only say no because it's not the long-term vet versus the young gun.
This is true.
You had two, and yeah, with that, you had two absolute different fan bases. You either loved Earnhardt and hated Gordon, or you loved Gordon and hated Earnhardt.
This is true.
So I say
Yep.
no just because of that.
Okay. That's fair.
I
But
definitely think you got something going,
oh, absolutely they do.
and it just takes one thing for it to blow up.
Yeah.
I could, if I'm gonna call a shot, Bristol.
Oh
You
boy.
see stuff. Oh, you always see it happen at Bristol. If I'm calling a shot,
Chase Elliott and Kevin Harvick.
Hamlin's good there too. So
Yeah. Yeah. But
Yeah, I don't
no,
know.
this next
But
part where all hell breaks loose.
well,
yeah,
yeah,
the next part I was gonna sorry jump in there, but shortly thereafter, um, you have Chase Elliott who spins by himself coming off of four.
4 was a
And,
struggle for a lot of guys.
yeah, he comes off of four and thought the infield needed the grass to be cut, so he cut some grass.
Ty Gibbs as well.
Ty Gibbs as well. Um, and then shortly thereafter, Bell gets a little air taken off of him, and the dominant car is out of the race. So, two interesting dynamics there. You heard Elliott, his crew chief, trying to get him back on track. Hey, it's all good. We'll get you right. Get back in this thing. And he's like, Elliott said, no, that's not okay. That's unacceptable. So, a little frustration there with himself. And then Christopher Bell, I mean, it was a few weeks ago when he blew up and he lost, and he said, when you have a car this dominant, I'm not content with a top five or wherever he finished at week 8th. You need to win the race. And
Yeah.
here we go again, dominant car. And he said himself, he put himself in a bad situation
Yep.
and ends his own day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it just piled on and piled on and piled on after that. Dylan spins the 6th, Holsevar spins the 21 under caution, and then you had all the different strategies going on too. You had some Blaney kind of got left out, being one of 5 guys getting left out, not pitting. So you had the fuel strategy going on there that, I mean, ultimately didn't work for him. But it also didn't work for a lot of other guys as well. We were running down to the end. Hamlin ends up passing Chastain for lead, who Chastain was air blocking the hell out of everybody, like he always does.
Yep.
I think I don't know if he would have held him off, but it would have been a hell of a fight the way that Chastain was going up until he got loose going into 1.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Hamlin's gonna have hands full getting around him.
Yes. Yep. And then we had Cendric spin on the backstretch with 2 laps to go, and yeah, that's where all hell broke loose, basically.
Yep, that's where they go 5 green white checkers to try to get this in.
So Larson loses it on the first one, takes out the 1. He hit the apron
Yeah.
and it just shot.
Yep.
Chastain, I don't think he was going to be able to win, especially with Hammond out front, but he had a strong car. And obviously, with that kind of being a home track for Trackhouse, you want to do good.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, that was restart one or green white checker one.
yep.
Green white checker two of the back of the field wanted to junk another 12 cars or something.
I still don't get, and I hope we hear from NASCAR about this. I still don't get why Bush got his spot back.
Absolute head scratcher.
It doesn't make sense.
No, none of it does. I don't know. I for the life of me, I don't understand.
Yeah, I'm trying to go through Twitter to see if I can find something, but I'm not seeing anything. Yeah, so what's that?
It's neither here nor there because he
Yeah,
found himself where he belonged about 4 laps later.
yeah. So then the next one, Larson runs out, he stacks up the outside line, and the guy that we were just talking about ends up breaking, I'm assuming, which was a toe link
Yeah.
in the rear, and it parks his car basically on the front stretch.
He was burning it down in reverse.
He was not happy.
And the fans were giving him a warm I don't even know what you want to call a warm exit.
A salute.
Yeah, salute to him,
Yeah.
kissing him goodbye. So he had a little fun with it, and usually he does the signature bow when he wins, but this week finishing 29th was like a win for him, so he dropped a bow on the front stretch. So
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so moving on to number 4, Chase Elliott runs out of gas, and then Josh Berry wrecks on the backstretch.
Yeah. And at first on the broadcast you couldn't see it, but NASCAR has every right, and they talked about it. NASCAR has every right to do the diligence, to throw the caution, to go make sure that he is okay. We
Yep.
cannot wait. We cannot wait another length of a lap to see if he pulls away or see if he needs help. He needed to be checked now.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then finally we got to the 5th one. We had Logano and Briscoe on the front row, both of them still questionable on fuel. Logano, by some miracle, ends up having enough fuel to win that race.
and I'm still seeing some I was just gonna pull it up on Twitter, some head scratching people. Questioning how on earth he did it, because I think he went 110 laps.
Let
Yep.
me read this to you. Let me read this to you right now. Joey Logano went 110 laps on fuel on a 1.3 mile track. That's 146 miles. Assuming the 18-gallon tank was packed full, he needed to average 8.3 miles per gallon to make it to the finish. That's absolutely insane, even with the amount of cautions.
Somebody, I forget who posted the picture, but somebody posted a picture of, and obviously this was a joke. It was basically the chassis of a car,
Oh,
and it was the fuel line. Yep.
Yeah, saw that.
Which we've heard those stories in the past. Dave Moody also comes in. Then this isn't exactly PG, so here's your fair warning, even though we've already sworn this. Someone get Paul Wolf a wheelbarrow for his testicles. Wow.
And I didn't even think about, this didn't fully dawn on me at this moment today when we were as we were recording this, but it's been him and Bubba on the cut line. So
Yep.
a huge win for that 22 team to work
Absolutely.
himself into the dance. Massive win for them. So
Obviously, you got to wait for standings to come, updated standings to come up, but basically should knock Bubba down another spot here.
yeah. So that was obviously a massive win for that team. And I didn't watch any post-race interviews, but I'll be curious to see what Joey says when they ask him, how'd you make it that long on
I want to ask Paul Wolf that question. That's what I want to ask.
There's lots of people that got lots of questions about
I
this.
would, I'd be interested to see if that car goes to R&D
Probably.
after this. So, um, one guy I want to kind of give a shout out to here real quick, Corey Haim. The result doesn't show it, but I think he impressed today.
He did. He minded his own business, and the wreck he got caught in was not his fault or his doing. That was just the case of that was that restart Greenway checker group 2 where the guys running for 25th decided they wanted to tangle with each other, and he just got caught. He was right in front of it, just got caught in the right rear and hooked into the fence.
Yep. So
before we wrap this conversation up, can I give 2 shout outs here?
Sure.
I'm gonna give 2 shout outs here. Number 1 is Zane Smith, Trackhouse guy. He has not had anything, I feel like, go right for him the entire year. But again, Trackhouse, this was their home track, and
he's a Spire guy.
He's a Spire guy, and say what you want about all the good guys eliminating themselves and wrecking and this, that, and the other thing. Look, you still got to make it through there, and you still got to be there at the end. And he was racing hard with Reddick there at the end. So Zane Smith there finishes P2 and
started 36th, by the way.
Started 36th, and who's not to say they had another lap? He had a good car there at the end. Carving just on that inside lane. So who's not to say if we had another lap or two that Zane Smith isn't looking at his first win. But the other shout out I want to give here is, hold on here 1 second. All right, never mind. Shout out on Twitter to Shane Williams. Shane WI2193725 is his Twitter handle or X handle. But speaking of Zane Smith, he placed a $5 bet on Zane Smith to have a top 5 finish. So
nice.
$5 bet turned into $655 there for him. And then not only that, but he placed another $5 bet on Zane Smith to be the top finishing Chevrolet. That $5 bet paid out $2,500. So
nice.
NASCAR Asm on Twitter just said, everyone go congratulate Shane. Look at this wager. So
$3,200 ahead.
Give Shane a shout out. 2 $5 bets there on Zane Smith turns into as Kellen said, $3,200. So but no, I was pleasantly happy with that race. It was a fun race to watch, to be honest with you, as much wrecking and restarting as there was. I had
the anticipation was building for sure. 2 things on Twitter really quick. I'm looking. Bob Hawkers 1 minute ago. NASCAR will be reviewing the Carson Hocevar contact with Harrison Burton under caution and will determine whether to issue any penalties.
I would expect one to come.
Yep.
Oh, that was wild.
And then Skew Car just sent out a tweet. It's the Pennzoil commercial from a couple of years ago with Ryan Blaney and Joey Logano. And it says,
saved at the pump.
Joey saved at the pump.
I got another one from Bobby P here 20 minutes ago. This is Bobby with his little dry sense of humor that he's got. I guess it was the spirit of Nashville today, a city where everyone stays out a lot longer and later than they originally planned.
Yep.
So, when it comes down to it, though, what you got there, Cam?
No, I was just gonna say there was no shortage of storylines from that race.
How did Logano, the fuel window was approximately 8 laps. How did Logano go 110?
And he pitted 3 laps later than Briscoe, and Briscoe still ran out. It's something for sure. So,
sorry to cut you off. Last fact for you. That was the most in NASCAR history overtime restarts there with 5. So set a record tonight.
All right. Top 10, Joey Logano, Zane Smith, Tyler Reddick, Ryan Preece, Chris Buescher were top 5. Ryan Blaney comes back to 6th after a late pit. Bubba Wallace 7th, Kyle Larson 8th, Daniel Humberg 9th, and Noah Gragson rounded up your top 10.
Yeah, it was that was a wild race.
Yeah, wild's an understatement. You can't put a single word on it.
Well, too bad I'm not in Farmer City today, or River City is my bad. Hoffman's in the pit and they just tore some sheet metal off of the right front. So
Whoops. But
It'll be going up for sale.
yep. Cam, you want to rip us some other winners of the weekend?
Oh shit! Here we go.
Get in there.
Let me get in. Get
and
down.
hey, just remember, we don't need to talk about the ones we already talked about.
This is true.
All right, here we go. 6:30 yellow section. Yeah, let's cover a lot of racing here from last week. World Outlaws, Independence Motor Speedway, Bobby Pierce doubles down. Bobby Pierce gets the win at Hamilton County Speedway. Already talked about Lake of the Ozarks Speedway and Corey Day. Corey Day again. World Outlaws at I-94 rained out. Jesus. Bubba Pollard, he gets a big payday this weekend. Wins the Southern Super Series race at Five Flags. Definitely a good call on Kellen's point here. That's a data gathering race for Snowball in the fall. So
A needed morale win.
yeah, for Bubba. So high limit Lucas Oil Friday night we touched on was Tyler Courtney. USAC Amsoil Sprint Cars at Mason Speedway, Mitchell Moles, Powerized Sprint Cars, Lucas Oil, Tyler Courtney, IRA Sprint Cars. Dude, this track always it's canceled, so we're skipping it. Don't need
Auto gaming.
Badger Midget Nationals at Beaver Dam was Brandon Walletti. Alive for Five was, as we talked about, Gabe Summers. USAC Amsoil at Macon Speedway was Logan Seavey. Xfinity race, John Hunter Nemechek gets another big win. I think that's 9th for him in the last 2 years. So he gets a big win there. Talked about Nick Hoffman getting a big win at Norman County. IRA Sprint Cars at Beaver Dam, Max Gulford, Badger Midget Nationals, Angel Park. Somebody just took out the name. And then NASCAR Cup Series, we just talked about. Joey Logano gets the win. And then G1, George Russell gets a win. So
Yeah. I think it's worth mentioning Christian Eckes led every single lap of the truck race.
Yes.
First time in like a long time. I can't remember even what it was. But he led every single lap. But I think this is a good opportunity to go from winners to what's coming up, huh?
Yeah, for sure. I guess who wants to take this first one here?
Cam, is that you? What do you think?
I guess I'll just jump right in. I'm out of breath, so I might as well keep going. Dirt late model racing. Just everything encompassing dirt late model racing. Exciting couple weeks here. XR Super Dirt Series here, July 1, 2, and 3. Proctor, Gondike, and Ogilvy. World Outlaws, July 4th, 5th, and 6th. Deer Creek for Go for 50, which why are we not there? That's just about an hour drive for me. Lucas Oil is July 5th and 6th. Portsmouth, Muskingums County, and Hunt the Front Super Dirt Series, July 6th. That feels like they're at Sonoya every week, but they are again there. So that's what we got in the dirt late model scene.
I will cover some of the Wisconsin late model racing that's going on around here, especially since I will probably be boots on the ground for a couple of these. We got the white race at WIR on July 4th. Ty Majeski won the first edition of this, so he'll be looking to go 2 for 2 basically. Always ends up being a good field there, but we also have the All-Star Pro Late Model Challenge Series up there, which a new series that started this year. First entry list had 40 cars on it. for this.
Yep.
So there will be a lot of late models, whether it's a super late or a pro late at this race in Kaukauna, WIR. Tundra Series will also be at the Dells on Saturday night. Kyle Shear will be making his Tundra debut, a name that we haven't heard in quite a while.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So always good to go back to the Dells. And then the Big 8 late models will be in Grundy on July 5th for fair time racing. So a lot of late models going around Wisconsin or even the Midwest scene. Like I said, I'll be on boots on ground for a couple of those.
Yeah. Last one's Chicago Street Course. Second running of this race in Chicago for the street course. Last year's event was ran mainly in the rain and it was cut short due to light, and SVG was the winner. So we'll be doing a little road course racing for Cup Series. Van Grohl, what else you got for the races coming up this weekend?
We got past super late models. Kyle Busch will be racing in Oxford Plains this weekend for the Celebration of America. Cars late models, both the pro late models and late model stocks will be at Caraway. It's actually a couple nights for the past late models at Oxford Plains. Like we said, late models are at Deer Creek. Arca Menards West Series is racing at Irwindale. USAC Silver Crown is at the Terre Haute Action Track. USAC Sprint Cars are at Lincoln Park. Oh, let's see. We got the Power Eye midgets and sprint cars. They're back at Lake Ozark again. Xfinity, they'll be racing at Chicago as well. IndyCar will be back on track this weekend. They'll be racing at Mid Ohio Sports Car Course, and then Formula One is racing in Silverstone this weekend. So it's a home race pretty much for everybody in the Formula One scene.
Yeah, one we may not get to, and this kind of alludes to next week episode, so you gotta stick this one too. I just because it's in orange with that. Sunday night Midwest Truck Series at Slinger Super Speedway for the prelude to the Nationals. So prelude to the
Yes.
Nationals, that'll be our episode next week too.
Yep. Yeah, it'll be a big week for us next week. So stay tuned for that. Make sure to watch that one. We're excited for this one that's coming up.
Yeah, your regular programming Tuesday Track Talk might be a slight bit early because we will be at Slinger on Tuesday. So
I'm so excited.
we'll be it may come out on Tuesday, but it'll be probably a Sunday night edition as well.
Let me check one thing here real quick, because normally at this point of the episode, we'd be talking about fantasy, but I don't know if things have been updated yet.
Skip it because there's always that mysterious overnight adjusting. So
And they haven't updated yet. So the gist of it is everybody sucked this week. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah,
So
well, everyone's shit got jumped. So
race picks wise though, those are still holding up pretty well. Kellen ended up being your winner with Hamlin this week. I had Elliott and Cam had Byron. So we're gonna do a little bit something different this time. We're gonna pick for the Chicago Street Course first, and then we're gonna do a spider draft for the Slinger Nationals.
yep.
And we're gonna get 2 picks for the Slinger Nationals, and that'll be a spider draft. So Cam, you get to start us off though with your NASCAR picks for the Chicago Street Course. If he's listening.
yes, give me Chase Elliott. I don't want to. Yeah,
Okay.
Oh, I don't know. Last year was such a crapshoot. I'm just gonna go with a safe pick. Give me Michael McDowell.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
gonna go out on a limb here.
All right. I'm gonna take the guy that finished second last year, Justin Haley.
Really?
Uh,
All right.
trying to.
Okay, so we got a couple of wild cards here for our Chicago Street Course picks. Uh, Slinger Nationals. We're gonna do 2 picks just because we don't know the entry list. So we're gonna do 2 picks there. We're gonna go Spider Draft, which is opposite of the Cup Series race. So Kellen, you get to get the first Slinger Nationals pick,
Are we gonna do what we usually do?
like what we do at the track.
Yeah, and throw Majeski out.
I think so.
It just doesn't. Yeah. We'll throw
That's a
him.
low hanging fruit.
Yeah. I will take Luke Fenhouse at number 1.
Damn it, that's one that I wanted. Oh man.
Is there any sort of entry list?
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
really.
Your best bet's gonna be looked down at next week's race previews on our spreadsheet. You got the last 4 or 5 winners, and then a handful of guys that you guarantee will be there.
I'm gonna check one thing here real quick.
Uh,
Actually, I'll do it this way. I'm gonna go. You know what? I'm for my first one. I'm gonna go with Alex Prunty.
damn it. Okay. Cam, your first one.
Give me Johnny D.
Okay. All right.
Hold on, I'm looking at something here.
Do we? Holy shit! Well, DK9 P15 there last year. Shit. What's that laugh about? I saw some Pollard notes. There's no way he's coming back up, is there?
I'm not sure. Cam, what was your pick again?
John DeAngelis.
I can tell you right now. Just let me check real quick. No, it's not on the schedule. I thought he was, but never mind.
All right. Well, I have no idea if he's confirmed either or not, but I'll live and die by the sword. This is a Kyle Larson pick. He's always, pardon my French, fucking badass fast, but he can never finish a race. Give me the old 5S of Johnny Sauter.
All right.
If he runs,
If he runs.
do you
If
want
he
an A pick?
runs.
Do you want an A
Yeah,
pick?
we'll let you repick just because he hasn't run at all this year, and I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't run.
Yeah, we'll give you one more swing at it if he doesn't run, because he's been kind of chasing Penn around.
Is Kraus racing?
Oh, of
Kraus is
course.
racing.
Yep.
All right. Confirmation on that. That's good.
I'm pretty sure Nassie confirmed he's showing up. Let me check right now.
Why are we not doing this on next week's episode?
I don't know.
Is there a chance that we have an entry list on next week's episode?
Yep.
Should.
So why are we picking right now? When we skip the Slinger preview too?
Well,
Fair enough.
we're this far in. We might as well.
Okay. How about this?
We'll set this original one and we can repick one. How about that?
That's our first pick. We'll cut it right there. That's our
Okay.
first pick. We just said we'll do 2 picks, and then next week we'll come back with here's the official entry list, and then we can double down.
Make our second picks. Sure,
Yeah.
that'll work.
course, yeah.
Also,
Put me in the fucking blender there. Wow.
Slinger just came out with their t-shirts as well this year.
Yeah, they're pretty badass.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we'll pick second round of the Slinger Nationals on next week's episode.
Yep.
Fantasy was fantasy this week. No, otherwise, a lot of great racing again this week. Got a big week coming up, a race, and obviously with the 4th of July, got a few not crown jewel, but big races coming up this weekend. Obviously, we got to remember we're able to do what we do because of the Brave. So we got to remember what the 4th of July is about as well. With that, any final thoughts here, fellas, before we sign off here for the night?
Enjoy the holiday. Don't lose your fingers with a firework.
Yes.
I was gonna say enjoy some good time with family, enjoy a good cookout, enjoy some fireworks, and Put it in reverse, Terry.
What a classic.
Um,
No, if you're able to obviously get out to a local short track this weekend, if you got the extra day off, go and do it. This is a big weekend for a lot of tracks. Most of them have fireworks shows for the kids as well. Um, Otherwise, yeah, be sure to stay tuned to the channel, especially next week. We'll talk a lot about Slinger. Um, no, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell for on YouTube. You get notifications on whenever we post anything. Hit us up on all the socials. Shoot us some questions too if you ever got anything. Um, Otherwise, we will see you all next week for the Tuesday Track Talk.